pressure is well and truly on at the top end of the Championship, but over the weekend we saw both Leicester and Leeds United returning to winning ways. In today's video we're going to be having a talk about the automatic promotion race. We've also got a couple games coming up in the Championship in midweek which we're going to be previewing in the second half of today's video. We've got a really tasty match coming up tonight between Leicester and Southampton which will have huge ramifications on the top end of the Championship, and we've also got a tasty looking clash coming up on Wednesday as well between Hull and Coventry, two of the playoff outsiders who still have a slim chance of sneaking in there. So I'll be predicting those games in the second half of today's video, but let's start out by discussing Leicester and Leeds, who both returned to winning ways over the weekend. We'll start out by discussing Leeds because that was the game last night and I'm sure it's still fresh in a lot of people's minds, and what a roller coaster of emotions I'm sure that was for all the Leeds fans, eventually getting over the line with a 4-3 win, but not easy by any stretch of the imagination. But by returning to winning ways and getting that win over Borough, they have returned to the top two with 90 points after 44 matches have been played. Two more games to go for Leeds. They can still finish with 96 points, but will that be enough for promotion? The game itself got off to a bit of a nightmarish start for Leeds, with Isaiah Jones giving Borough the lead after just 7 minutes in this one. Thankfully, Leeds responded fairly swiftly themselves with two quick-fire goals from Somerville from the penalty spot and Patrick Bamford. Emmanuel Latte-Lath then gets Middlesbrough back into the game, and then we have the controversy that follows, with Wilfred Gnonto sticking away Leeds' third goal when he was clearly in an offside position when the ball was played to him. Now, quite a bit has been made of this. We'll discuss VAR in the second half of today's video when we get to talking about Coventry and their match in midweek, but this is the nature of the beast in the Championship. Sometimes you'll get those decisions and sometimes you won't, and while that offside call not being called for Gnonto could have massive ramifications on the top two, I'm sure a lot of Leeds fans will point to that Sunderland game just a few weeks ago where they were denied arguably 2 stonewall penalties in that match, which would have made all the difference in that game. So from a Borough perspective, that is a hard one to stomach, but like I say, with no VAR in the Championship, that is just the nature of the beast. Second half, once again, really entertaining back and forth game between these two sides. Somerville with an excellent strike which looked to have wrapped this game up, all for Latte-Lath to fire in another one for Borough and lead to a really nervy finish for Leeds, but just about grinding this one out. That is their first win in their last 3 matches, so definitely in a time of need, Leeds were able to produce the goods, and it's going to be a rapid turnaround for Daniel Farke's men now. They're back in action against QPR on Friday night, so really short amount of recovery time for Leeds. QPR certainly won't make things easy for them in that game either. There have been some obvious cracks in that Leeds back line of late, which were badly exposed by Middlesbrough at times, but with that forward line seemingly being back on song with one another, especially Somerville, who always look lively, I think Leeds should probably be fancying their chances in that clash against QPR before that final day showdown with Southampton, which could be a blockbuster. Of course, the other big result we had at the top end of the Championship over the weekend was Leicester returning to winning ways and in the nick of time against West Brom. Another really interesting back and forth game, and you could probably argue that both Leeds and Leicester got a little bit fortunate over the weekend to walk away with all 3 points. Leeds with the amount of chances they gave away to Middlesbrough, and that was definitely applicable to Leicester in this game against West Brom as well. So many openings that the Baggies had. I'm not sure how they didn't get at least 2 or 3 goals in this one. Hamza Chowdhury with an absolutely inspired performance with several goal line clearances to keep the Foxes in this one. A Jamie Vardy penalty miss which made things even nervier in and around that ground as well, but ultimately getting over the line, and with 3 games to go for Leicester, I think you have to fancy their chances to get over the line from this stage, even if they do drop points against Southampton in midweek, with those 2 final matches that they've got to come against a Preston side who are looking on the beach at the moment, and then a final day showdown at home against Blackburn Rovers. Leicester, I think, are in the strongest position at this point in time to go ahead and get themselves over the line, but all of that could change in midweek, maybe with Southampton throwing a bit of a spanner in the works. Speaking of Southampton, they missed a massive opportunity over the weekend by losing 2-1 against Cardiff, a game which really should have been out of sight almost in the first half. They had 12 shots, 6 on target within the first 45 minutes, but were only able to score 1 goal in that first half. And then as they allowed Cardiff away back into that game in the second half, they ultimately ended up being hit by that sucker punch, a 96-minute loss for Russell Martin's men. It's usually been them this season that have scored the late goals, but not on this occasion. What does it mean for Southampton's automatic promotion hopes? Well, they are looking particularly slim at this point in time. They really needed to win that game against Cardiff to give them a fighting chance going into their last 3 matches. Don't get me wrong, it's still not mathematically impossible for Southampton to achieve automatic promotion this season, but they are going to need quite a few things to go in their favour. With 3 games to go, the maximum amount of points that Southampton can accumulate this season is 93, and you know, that's going along with the logic that they beat both Leicester and Leeds away from home. Problem is, even if they do win both of those matches, there's still a very good chance that both Leicester and Leeds finish above them because of the points they've already got on the board. Southampton will be hoping that QPR can do a job on Leeds on Friday night, which potentially allows them to catch Leeds on the final day of the season. What does give Leeds quite a nice buffer potentially going into that final day showdown against Southampton is they do have a far superior goal difference. So even if Southampton were to beat Leeds on the final day and draw level on points with them, Leeds would very likely still finish above them, providing there's not a ridiculously big goal swing or anything like that. Midweek against Leicester will be very interesting though, and we'll discuss that shortly. But it did feel like that loss against Cardiff somewhat put an end to Southampton's automatic promotion hopes. Watching from afar, it'll be interesting to see what this weekend's action, psychologically, what that effect has been on Ipswich Town, who obviously weren't in action. They've still got 3 games to come, 2 away games against Hull and Coventry before a final day showdown at Portman Road with Huddersfield. With both Leicester and Leeds winning, it has put the pressure on Kieran McKenna's side, particularly as they don't have a goal difference which is quite as good as Leicester and Leeds. I think that there's a very good chance that coming into their final 3 matches, Ipswich might need to win all 3 of them. And given that Hull and Coventry don't tend to lose that many matches at home, it will be quite the ask for Ipswich to go to both of those places in just a few days' time and win back-to-back matches. I had a feeling that both Leicester and Leeds would drop points this weekend, and that very nearly happened if Borough could have been a little bit tighter at the back and West Brom took their chances when they came along. I thought it was quite feasible that both of those matches could have ended as draws, but the fact that both of them have won those matches, the pressure's really cranked up for Ipswich in their final 3 games. Would be interested to get your takes on the automatic promotion race in the comments down below though, guys. Plenty of twists still to come, with a lot of football still to be played between now and the end of the season. What we'll go ahead and do next is preview the matches we've got coming up in midweek, and boy, these should be tasty. So going over tonight's game, which sees Leicester coming up against Southampton, this one has a lot more implications with Southampton than I think it does Leicester. If Southampton don't win this match, I think that'll be them done and dusted for the automatic promotion race, whereas Leicester can afford to drop points in this fixture and still be in a really strong position going into their final 2 matches. I don't think that a draw would be the worst result in the world for the Foxes in this matchup. So the game state's going to be quite interesting. You'd imagine Southampton are going to be having to push a lot of players forward, get into those chances. And to be fair, I'm expecting Leicester to give up a few good opportunities to Southampton. We saw in that West Brom game, had the Baggies been a little bit more clinical, they easily could have had 3 or 4 goals in that game. And you maybe fancy Southampton to be a little bit more clinical than West Brom as well. With all that being said, with how much Southampton are going to need to go for this game, they'll probably leave a few gaps in their own back line, and that's where Leicester can look to take advantage. They can be so ruthless in those situations. Thinking back to the reverse fixture between these two earlier in the season, Leicester really did get one over on Southampton. They had a rapid start in that game. Jamie Vardy scored almost instantly, and the Foxes ended up winning that one 4-1. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised at any outcome for this game. I really could see it going either way. My gut feeling says that Leicester probably just get over the line though. Score prediction, going to go for a 3-2 Leicester home win, which would put to bed any sort of Southampton automatic promotion hopes. And then we've also got the game on Wednesday to preview as well, which sees Coventry going up against Hull. Only a win will do for both teams in this fixture in terms of keeping alive their faint playoff hopes. Obviously, both of them still hoping that West Brom and Norwich have got a slip or two in them in their final 2 matches, but in order to take advantage of that, they need to win this match. Now, on the back of Coventry's bonkers FA Cup tie against Manchester United, I'm not sure how that side shows up for this game, whether psychologically they've been a little bit scarred by losing it at the bitter end on penalties against Man United, when really they were desperately unlucky not to win it themselves with that, sort of bonkers VAR call ruling out that late goal in extra time for them. Having to play 120 minutes at Wembley against Manchester United does take a lot out of you, and so Hull will have that extra bit of recovery on Cov, which is worth taking into consideration here. With that being said, we've seen it countless times throughout the season so far with those teams just below the playoff spots that have failed to take advantage of teams above them dropping points. Obviously, we saw both West Brom and Norwich drawing over the weekend, which just about keeps Hull and Coventry alive in the playoff race. With that being said, I've got a gut feeling this one's going to end as an unhelpful 1-1 draw, which doesn't do anyone any favours. But guys, there we have it. That will now wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. Would be interested to hear your thoughts on the race for automatic promotion and the playoffs in the comments down below. Well, apart from that, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.